Okay, so here's that third and final part in a guide to offense. We've been through all the ideal scenarios. We've talked about different offensive systems. We've talked about set calls. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the cold reality. Just a quick note before I jump on to the actual topic. If you're finding these useful, that would be amazing. If you wanted to buy me a metaphorical coffee, I'm not sure if I keep doing the videos or not. I'm not sure why I started adding the video posts in addition to all the text. But look, if you want to support the stuff that I'm doing here, that's amazing. If not, that's also amazing. But you can go to my Buy Me a Coffee page there and give me a couple dunks while you're at it. So back to the cold hard reality. We've got to figure out our offensive priorities, principles, if you're kind of speaking GMS plus language. Really what it comes down to is I want to make sure that we have a few of these things really well in place. Of course, we want to work on offensive systems and we're aspiring to run more sophisticated things. But these are the main big rocks that we need to move. We want to make sure that we can involve the middle. Otherwise, it's really boring if you're a middle player and our passing is lousy and you never get set. It can be really disheartening. And the kids don't want to play middle then. So we want to come up with a strategy for, well, let's feed you the ball in as many situations as we can. So we'll talk about that a little bit with fixed and floating. The other thing that we work on that everybody works on now all the time is out of system. And we've got a few things that we kind of follow with that. There's working with inconsistent sets. You can't put it all on your setter to make sure that they're delivering the ball to the same spot every time, even if it's a perfect pass. Of course, we're working on that on the side, but there are more hitters than there are setters. So it's way better if our hitters are capable of hitting sets just about anywhere. And of course, in the article, I've got some of my favorite links off to Julie Velasco's quotes about hitters just have to solve it. They have to take a look at where the set is, how fast it's coming, and where it is in relation to the net and the court, and figure it out. Go through their database of how do I hit this ball that's dropping inside? How do I manage to put it away? That's something the hitters have to work on. So it's something we focus on quite a bit. And then, of course, this is partially down to the coaches, partially down to the setters as well. Take advantage of your best attacker. If somebody's on fire or they happen to match up really well in a particular match, guess who's going to get the ball the most? Because we'll score the most points and we'll win. So first things first, fixed versus floating. This is all just geared towards let's get the middles involved. Let's get them excited about their role. Everybody loves attacking. It's not all just about blocking. It's there when you're a middle and you're up, blocking on the outside, getting off the net in transition, jumping, trying to draw the other middle. We tip over the net, the ball comes back the other side. So you're doing lots of jumping, lots of moving, exploding from one side of the net to the other. It's a lot of work. So we want to make sure that we can set them. And we want to make sure that when we're talking with the setters, they know where you're going to be. So fixed versus floating, a fixed 51, that's that quick. If we're using those set calls from before, it's in zone 5 on the net, about a foot above. So there's zone 5. This is the case when the setter is pulled off. You can see that for a fixed 51, they're going to shove the ball back to zone 5. Middles just have to keep going to the same spot every time on the net. There's much less thinking for them. It's a bit more work for the setter because it's going to vary in relation to where their body is on the court. If they're taken way over to the sideline, they've got to push it much further, almost like a shoot, to 51 to make sure they're still hitting the middle. They've also got to kind of find the middle that way. So this could be a lot more work for the setters. So if your setters are elite and your middles maybe are brand new, possibly we keep them fixed 51. The thing that I would much prefer my middles to do is work on a floating 51. This is where if the setter, for example, is pulled all the way over here, just a little bit off the net in zone 8 or so, I would love for the middle to get right to the setter. Now you have to adapt a little bit. You can't go right on the net if the setter is back at the 3 meter line, because you're going to be hitting the ball behind your head. But this is a bit more work on the middle, because they've got to kind of go follow the ball as it's coming down to the setter. Makes it a little easier for the setter, because they know that I'm just going to put it just up above my head. The middle should be there to take care of that ball. I would really prefer if my middles were able to float with the setter. Because then once we get better and better and they're used to sort of floating around and they're communicating with the setter and telling them that they're there and the setter can kind of trust them, that's when we can start to spot little gaps in the block, and the middles can start to take on little pop routes and all the other kind of fun stuff that you might have seen from guys like Jendrick and those guys. So that's the fixed versus floating. Again, which you pick is up to you, but it's helpful for your players to know that there are these two different concepts of how we're going to use the middle. I've got some links as well to the talks that Jim Stone gave over in England back in the fall, where he talked about ways to train the middle and train that fast tempo. And I love some of the stuff he did. So we try to work on that with this floating versus fixed idea stuck in their head. So that's trying to get the middles involved as much as we can. The other thing, of course, that we focus on a lot, especially this year, we put a lot more focus into out of system. And instead of just being out of system and being like, oh, well, that's it, we've just got to learn to attack from absolutely everywhere, we tried to limit the number of spots that we'd like to hit from. And we tried to keep it relatively safe. Now, this is not a new thing. There's the hexagon setting link that I've got in the article. But I try to keep it as simple as possible. I reuse the back row zones A, B, C, and D across that back row for out-of-system calls. So if we know that the ball is passed off the net and the setter is going to get it way beyond the 3 meter line, or another player is going to get it, they know that we've got one of these 4 zones to set the ball into, and we should be guaranteed to have a hitter there. After all, we've got 5 other players that can attack the ball. If the libero is not one of the people passing the ball, then okay, we've only got 4 other players, but we should be able to fill in those spots well. The goal with having these spots is just to make sure that we have known lanes on the court as well. When we dig a ball and we are out of system, sometimes there's a little bit of chaos. So when we hear people calling for A or B, we know that they've got a clear lane to go attack the ball, because we want to make sure that we're not just setting the ball and they're standing in that zone already. We want to make sure they're getting an approach so they can actually attack the ball, because we need to start killing the ball more rather than just, okay, we've kind of safely put it in and we'll just weather the storm at the other side and hope they make a mistake. A lot of the times till now, that's how we've been playing, is kind of waiting for the other team to help us win it rather than just going out and taking it. So if we can get aggressive, using those hitting lanes to go attack the ball and really put the other team under pressure, we'll win a lot more games. At least a lot more points. Now, this is what it looks like in terms of who can go hit where. Because we have these 4 zones, we've got more players than that. These players can get off and hit in the different zones. Typically, your outside hitter there, number 4, would peel off the net and get ready to hit in zone A. Our opposite would be peeling off the net to get ready to hit in zone D. Maybe the setter then goes and tries to take C, but you can see how different people can slot into the different spots. I really like it when the players are communicating, and we try to work on that a lot in a lot of the drills that we have in the article below, just to make sure that they get comfortable saying A, B, C, or D, and then everyone knows where those spots are on the floor. We give them pretty big targets to hit, so there's not a lot of stress. We don't have to be super precise. And we also emphasize that in the case of 4 and 2, they've got to get way off the net, more so than they usually do, but get way off the net so we can get a good approach and go attack that ball. Now, in this case, we've got the libero there, number 5, in zone 5. they've got to make sure that, okay, if somebody's going to hit an A, I need to clear out of the way so that I'm not blocking anybody swinging out of A or B. And then in the case that we have the middle serving, this is international rules, of course. So middle serves, they go over, take up their spot. I have them play defense in left back. That's another great opportunity for middles to get involved. They can go hit a ball out of B. They could hit the ball in A if our outside hitter has gone for the ball and they're out of the play now. But it just gives us lots more opportunities. And it's important that we work through this because we try to decide who's going to take that ball, and we don't want to have collisions. So we want to make sure that they're all communicating on the court. So when we come game time, they can easily make that decision. And then we also kind of know who likes to go hit that ball at a certain zone. The last couple of pieces are mostly about maximizing the hitters. And it is all about solving it. The set is in the air, the ball's in the air. It's our third contact. Let's attack it and make sure we are at least putting the other team under pressure, if not guaranteed a kill. So that's what we really want to work on. What I have to help maximize hitters is, of course, you want to see who's putting the ball away most efficiently for you. So I wind up looking at a lot of the stats. Like these are our season stats for the Division 1 ladies. You can see with one of our setters, we had a bunch of attempts here at the top. These are the number of kills for each of those players. And these are the number of errors. Well, all in all, we had a decent attacking season. We didn't hit negative, which is always positive. And I was much happier with the attackers, but there were certain players that you were almost sure, okay, the ball's going to get put away more likely than not if we get it out to one of these players. With our other setter, this is what it looked like. We had a slightly larger distribution. One player got a lot more of the sets and got a lot more of the kills. And percentage-wise, she did a really good job putting the ball away and made a few errors, but not a crazy number of errors. So that was a pretty good job distributing. So we would probably want to take advantage of that attacker in the purple here with Maisie as our setter because she was pretty successful. So let's keep feeding her the ball. You can also, this is Coacher Volleyball Stats, so you can also check it out by hitter. So you can go and have a look at the number of errors, the number of actual kills here by setter. We can also look at the overall set distribution throughout the year for all of our players. You can see our opposite with way more sets, way more attempts than anybody else. And then, of course, our outsides and our middle, who, as I've mentioned, I really should have had on the outside because she's just very, very efficient at killing the ball. So those are some of the things we look at. This is one of the tools that I would use to go sit down with a setter and say, okay, these are the people who are putting the ball away. I have a little set distribution section here. And then I also want to even maybe take a look at this and make sure that we are getting a lot of our points off of kills. You can see that we got a good chunk off of aces, but still almost half was from attacking. So we want to make sure that we're really, really good on that front and that we're giving the ball to people who are going to put it away and put them in the best possible position. The other things like the 211, that's all kind of opponents giving us points. Same thing with this is opponent errors, and these are opponent service errors. So we get a good chunk from opponent errors in Division 1 in Ireland and a little chunk from our own blocks. You can see that we really want to spend a lot of time making sure that our offense works well. Out of system, we're playing really well. And able to kill that ball. Because if you look at our passing, it's okay, but it's not brilliant. So that's kind of the wrap on the guide to offense, the cold, hard reality that we have at the end where, look, we're going to have to train out of system a lot. I'm really excited about next year. We've got one of our setters coming back for sure anyway. And we're making a big push for the Premier League with those girls. And if we look at some of the stuff that we did from an attacking point of view with the under-18 national team this year, it wasn't always super successful, but there were a couple of moves that really paid off. And you can see how some of those players who can kill the ball, it's great to have them on the outside, because that's where our setters are best right now, is setting the ball to the left side. And now we have to kind of develop them a little bit more to really take advantage of the middles and the opposites, especially at those younger age groups. Hopefully that's given you some food for thought to put into practice in your gym. Again, this third section, this is what we do most of the time because it is the reality. And in the beginning of the season, as we start to ramp up, we'll work on a lot of that stuff to try to get us to the point where we can run a good offense. And then we kind of adapt that year-long plan when we say, all right, yeah, our passing's looking good. We can handle the serves in the league this year pretty easily. Let's add some kind of fun stuff in here. Or maybe, oof, man, you know what? We're out of our depth. The league has gotten way better. Serves are much harder. So we're going to have to focus a lot more on that out-of-system stuff.